What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the first round of the NFL draft. I'm going to give my grades for each pick, kind of talk briefly about if I liked it, didn't like it. I'm going to keep it simple, kind of basic, and try to not make this video too long. So let's just get right into it. The Bengals at number 1 take quarterback Joe Burrow. I'm giving this an A, maybe you could even say A+. He was the right guy to pick here. They need their franchise QB. He had one of the best college seasons we've ever seen. Maybe perhaps if Tua didn't get hurt and had a strong season as well, you could have had a debate over who was to go number 1. But because he got hurt and because Joe Burrow just went absolutely crazy, he was the right pick. We'll see if he pans out, but he was definitely the guy that the Bengals should have took at that spot to try to secure their future. Number 2, the Redskins take Chase Young. I'm giving this an A to an A+ as well. Probably the best overall player in the draft in terms of just best football player, the guy that's got the most likely potential to be a Hall of Fame player, just based off what we know about all these guys right now. He has, if you're a betting man, he has the highest chance to be a Hall of Fame type player because of what we've seen. Some people were trying to trade into this spot. I think the Redskins did the right thing, staying put, getting a cornerstone player that'll hopefully stay there for a while and be, one of the best players in the league. At number 3, the Lions take cornerback Jeff Okudah. Going to give this one an A as well. Another hot spot that could have been traded for, but they stayed put. They got, I think, at this point, who was the best player in the draft that was left. They replaced Darius Slay, who left, so they could have went some other directions. I think trading back and getting more picks would have also been smart, but I'm not going to knock them for taking such a stud of a player at that spot. The Giants at 4 take offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. I'm going to give this an A- only because I think that personally Tristan WIRFS and JEDRICK were the better offensive tackles, but the big top 4 offensive tackles in this class, all very close. It was going to all come down to preference of which team had the pick. This was the guy they liked, so it was a big area of need. I know the Giants fans probably wanted Isaiah Simmons or something like that, but they made the right pick here, I think. Isaiah Simmons would have been fine as well, but this was definitely a solid pick. This guy could easily be a 10-year starter in the league, and that's what you want when you're drafting an offensive lineman. At 5, the Dolphins take quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. I'm going to give this a B, maybe to a B+. They could have went offensive tackle here, and that might have been the better pick just because the offensive tackles, I think at this spot, if you went WIRFS or you went Wills, were the more safe, lockdown for sure picks, and you did need that as well, and there was some talk about them potentially doing that, and you still had options that you could have got maybe a Jordan Love a little bit later with your 18th pick, but if Tua was their guy, then you go get your guy. You don't mess around with it. That's who they hope is going to be their franchise QB, so they still made a great pick here. I'm just going to give it a B to a B+. The the Chargers at 6 go Justin Herbert. I'm giving this a C-. I don't really like Herbert. I know they need a quarterback. I think Isaiah Simmons would have been a better pick here, or again, maybe they trade back and try to go the Jordan Love route. It really depends. Like I said, if this is your guy, if this was if you valued him over Jordan Love, then you take your guy. And he obviously has a big arm. He has potential, but he just, for me, and I think for a lot of people, he didn't improve enough in college, and there's still a lot of problems with his game, and I don't see him panning out. Hopefully for Chargers fans, he does. I hope he does. I actually really like the Chargers. I'm not sure about Justin Herbert. At 7, the Panthers take defensive tackle Derrick Brown. I'm giving this a C+. Really great player. Definitely the best interior lineman in the class. I just think, again, Isaiah Simmons or even CJ Henderson, I think would have just been a little bit better picks here. Not to say this guy is bad. Not to say he's not a good pick. He's still going to be very valuable for them in that middle. I just think they could have went a couple other directions that would have been a little bit better and a little bit more of a need. Personally, that's how I feel about the pick. Number 8, we got Isaiah Simmons going to the Cardinals. I'm giving this an A because at this point in the draft, I thought he would be going by 6, 7-ish. He's still here, and I think he's a really great fit with a team that has a lot of talented defenders. And in that division specifically, when you have to see a guy like Russell Wilson twice a year, this is a guy that can spy Russell Wilson and give him some trouble. Also a guy that can play some safety, play some nickel. He's versatile, and these type of players are so valued in today's NFL. You could ask him to do a bunch of different things. He can defend the athletic tight ends or the good route running type running backs. I think he's going to be fun to watch. I think the Cardinals are going to be fun to watch. And a sleeper to be a wild card team with some of the additions they've made. Number 9, we've got the Jags taking cornerback CJ Henderson. I'm giving this a B+, maybe even an A-. I think best cornerback second best cornerback in the class of what they needed. You know, they lost Jalen Ramsey, obviously. That was a solid pick right there. I think the Jags had a really good draft. We'll get to their second pick later. Number 10, the Browns take offensive tackle Jedrick Wills. I'm giving this an A+ because he's still on the board. It was the biggest position of need for them, and they got one of the top 2 tackles in my opinion, and they got him at 10. They made the right pick. It was a safe pick with the right pick. They did a good job there. At 11, the Jets take offensive tackle MEKHI BECTON. I'm giving this a B-, because you still had WIRFS on the board, and I think he's better. Becton is the one I like the least out of the 4 tackles, but again, still a good tackle. You still really can't go wrong with it. It was a position of need. You also had Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb on the board. They definitely needed a wide receiver, especially after losing CeeDee Lamb, or not CeeDee Lamb, Robbie Anderson. So you can't knock them. Like I said, B-. I think they could have went with the better tackle here, but they also could have went with a Jerry Jeudy. But they still got a guy that they needed in a good pick. At 12, the Raiders take Henry Ruggs. I'm giving this a B-, just because, again, I think you got to take Jeudy or Lamb. Now, a lot of people did have Ruggs as their number 1. You know, a lot of scouts and teams did. And this was just a classic Raiders Al Davis pick. Fastest guy in the draft. Like, this is a pick that he probably phoned in from the grave. Still a great playmaker. Still definitely a good pick. I just don't think you can pass on Jeudy or Lamb for him, though. And that's why I'm giving it a B-. At 13, the Bucs take offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs. They trade up to this spot. I'm giving this an A+ because I think, again, top 2 tackle in the class. You get him at 13. You traded up and got the guy you wanted. One of the biggest needs to help protect Brady. You got a lot of firepower in that offense. You know, you could say maybe you go defensive back, but at this point in the draft, the 2 best defensive backs are gone. So some of those other guys could be a reach right here. So I think they make the right pick with taking that offensive tackle. Then you've got the Niners, who traded back 1 spot. They take defensive tackle JAVON KINLAW. I'm giving this a B+, only because I think they needed a receiver more. But they make their money on their D-line, and they lost Buckner. This is who they replace him with. They're essentially hoping to replace Buckner for a lot less money here, because KINLAW is a beast. But I personally think, again, with Jeudy and Lamb still on the board at 14, I think that was a bigger area of need, but they still did really good with this pick. I can't knock it. At 15, the Broncos, they get Jerry Jeudy. Finally, he goes off the board. This is an A, maybe an A+, just because of the fact of where they got him, and they needed a receiver too to pair with Courtland Sutton. That could be a really dangerous combo right there. Great pick for the Broncos. The Falcons at 16 take AJ Terrell. Giving it a B-. You know, I think he's a good player. He got abused a little bit by Jamar Chase in the national championship, but he's one of the better corners on draft. I don't think he's better than Fulton or Jeff Gladney, and so at this spot, I just didn't think it was the right pick. I think you could have traded back and got him, or took one of the better cornerbacks. Just my opinion. But they definitely needed a cornerback. They lost, you know, Desmond Trufant. And in this division where you got to see Michael Thomas twice a year, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin twice a year, DJ Moore twice a year, they needed a cornerback. So it was the right position. I just don't think the right guy at that spot. At 17, the Cowboys take wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. I'm giving this a B+. Just because I don't think it was their biggest need, but it's so hard to pass on a guy like this there. I mean, you have Cooper and Gallup, a really good tandem, 2 really good wide receivers, but you add CeeDee Lamb to that, especially what he does after the catch, making people miss. You got Zeke in the offense. There's a lot of firepower there in Dallas. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. I just don't think it was their biggest need, so that's why I give it a B+. But at that point in the draft, very hard to pass on CeeDee Lamb. At 18, the Dolphins, with their second pick, take Austin Jackson. Now, I'm giving it a C+ because I just don't think, I think this was just too early to take this guy. I think if you want an offensive tackle, I would have traded up a few spots and take Tristan Wirfs. That's what I would have done. Or I would have traded back a little bit, got even more picks, and still you would probably been able to land this guy. I don't think he's ready right away. I just don't think it was the right pick here. At 19, the Raiders take cornerback David Arnett. I'm going to give this a D because, again, a couple cornerbacks here going before Fulton and Gladney, which I don't understand. I think this was a second round, probably early second round guy. But, again, if that was their guy, you're going to take your guy. That's what teams do. I just think way too early at this spot. They could have went with a better cornerback, in my opinion, or even just went a whole other position here. But that's what the Raiders did. So, Raiders doing Raider things. At 20, the Jaguars' second pick, they take edge rusher JAVON CHAISSON. I give this an A- because at this point in the draft, I think that was I think this was probably maybe a round where he would go. I thought he'd go probably a few spots early. I think the value was good, but also Yannick Ngakoue is trying to get out of there. They lost Calais Campbell. They desperately needed an edge rusher. They desperately needed a cornerback too. They got both of those in this draft. They got two. They got the second best corner prospect and the second best edge rusher prospect in the draft. They nailed it. Great first round for the Jaguars. And then you got the Eagles at 21. Wide receiver Jalen REAGOR. Giving it a C+. I think he's a great talent, great player, definitely a first round guy. I just don't think you pass on Justin Jefferson for him. I just, again, if that was their guy, you're going to teams take their guy. But I don't understand how you could value him over Justin Jefferson. I don't think anybody really understood that pick. But that's where the Vikings come in at 22 and they get lucky because they get Justin Jefferson. And this is an A because the fact that he's still on the board here and you get to replace Stephon Diggs, I mean, you might not miss a beat on that offense now. This is a really good guy, especially what he can do after the catch too. Great pick for the Vikings. Another team I think did really well in this class. Up next at 23, the Chargers trade up for linebacker Kenneth Murray. Giving that a B+, I think it was a position of need. I think I would have probably went Patrick Queen, but it's kind of splitting hairs between Murray and Queen. They got one of the best linebackers left. Great pick for the Chargers. The Saints, my team at 24, take center Cesar Ruiz. I'm giving this a B. I've seen a lot of people give this an A because of how good he is and how athletic he is, and they're going to play him at guard, obviously. I just think, again, Patrick Queen is still on the board. I think he would have made a bigger impact next year, and it was the biggest position of need because outside of Demario Davis, there's no security at that linebacker position. Alex Anzalone gets hurt often, and there's really nobody else that's really that quality of a player. Patrick Queen would have been a steal at this point, could have made a splash right away. I do think Cesar Ruiz is going to start. It sounds like he's probably going to take Larry Warford's job if he has a good camp. And last year, the reason the Saints did lose to the Vikings in the playoffs, they got abused on the interior O-line. So, not a bad pick. Just, I think Patrick Queen was the guy you had to take here. That's just my opinion. At 25, the 49ers take wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. I guess that's how you say his name. I don't really know how to say his last name. Never really knew. This is like a C+, B-. He's a good receiver. I just think I would have went like a Denzel Mims, maybe even T. Higgins at this point. Both of those guys didn't go first round. Definitely an interesting guy. They still wound up getting a wide receiver, which was good. I don't know. I think I would have went with one of the other guys, but that's just me. Packers at 26 take Jordan Love. I'm giving this a B. A lot of Packers fans didn't like this. They wanted a wide receiver. And yes, they could have definitely did, a Denzel Mims, T. Higgins. They desperately need somebody on the other side of Devontae Adams for Aaron Rodgers. But I think Jordan Love, I think Packer fans are going to love this pick in a few years because I think this guy is going to be a really good player. I think he could easily be the second, even the best quarterback in this class. He has that type of potential. He's got to obviously improve on some things, but this is a really good talent. And you have a chance as a Packers fan to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Now, if this guy it becomes even halfway decent, like to avoid going through bad quarterback play for so many years, I mean, you're talking multiple decades of having good quarterback play. That's why you got to like this pick because he has so much potential. And for a guy with his skill set that plays a little Patrick Mahomes-ish, Aaron Rodgers-ish, for him to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, who is aging and has been declining a little bit, I think this is a guy in 2 years you're going to be happy you have him. But obviously for right now, you wanted a wide receiver. But there's still that second round. There's going to be stud wide receivers you can get that have fallen. There's a deep wide receiver class. So I'm giving this a B. I think good pick for the Packers. And they can still come away from this with a nice number 2 wide receiver later on. At 27, the Seahawks take linebacker Jordan Brooks. I'm giving this a D. Because, again, Patrick Queen's still on the board. This guy is a little bit raw. The Seahawks kind of do that, though. They make weird first-round picks. This is a guy, if you wanted this guy, I think you could have traded back a few spots, still got him, and moved up somewhere else in the draft. But, again, Patrick, there's no way you take this guy over Patrick Queen. I don't get it. I don't think he's going to be a bad player, but I don't understand how you pass on Patrick Queen. And then at 28, here we go. The Ravens take linebacker Patrick Queen, and you got to give him an A+ because for the value and with how good that defense is, and they're going to add this guy in, and I think he's going to make an impact right away. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. Such a talented player, and you get him at 28. The Ravens have to be just so happy right now. I know as a fan of the Ravens, or if I was a fan of the Ravens, I would be. At 29, the Titans take offensive tackle Isaiah Wilson. gonna give this an A-. I think good pick here and a guy they definitely needed, and I think they did good here. I think that's just it's a guy who he's massive. He's gonna really be a problem in the run game, which is something they love to do with Derrick Henry, obviously. I think great pick for them, and it was a guy they not desperately, but they definitely needed. At 30, the Dolphins take cornerback Noah Igbinoghene. I never know how to say this guy's last name out of Auburn, but pretty good running back. I'm gonna give this a B+ for this spot. Again, I still think with Gladney and Fulton on the board, I think they're a little bit better. And also just, I don't think the Dolphins needed a cornerback that much. So that's why I give it a B+ instead of like an A-. I mean, they have a couple decent wide receivers, but I think they could have benefited more from a wide receiver here because they already have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, who they paid a lot. So, but you can never have too many cornerbacks in this league with how pass happy it is. So not a bad pick. I just think better cornerbacks and also wide receiver was a bigger need. At 31, the Vikings, finally, they take cornerback Jeff Gladney. Somebody takes him. Vikings did great in this draft. I think this is an A pick because you got arguably the third, fourth best corner in the draft, I think what many people would think, and you got him this late in the draft, and it was a position of need, and then you still got one of the best wide receivers in the draft. Vikings and Jags just, I think, nailed the first round. And then at 32, kind of surprising, the Chiefs take running back Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE. Surprising for a couple reasons. Number one, surprised he was the first running back. I'm surprised he went over Swift or Dobbins, but it makes a lot of sense. I'm giving it a B+. Only reason I'm really giving it a B+ is because I think they could have traded back and got him, traded back a few spots, still got him. Also, running backs in the first round, we know how interchangeable running backs are in this league, right? But I think he is a perfect fit for that team because he's a good route runner. He's a good runner too. Like he fights through contact. He's gonna give it his all. He's a really good route runner though. And in that offense that has speed, good weapons, you got Patrick Mahomes. Like, I think Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE will eat in that offense. I don't think I could really picture a more perfect match, so that's why I give it a B+, because if that's your guy and with how perfect that fit is going to be, I think great pick there for those reasons. So that's my analysis of the first round. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.